Alaska. The very name evokes images of untamed wilderness, towering glaciers, and the midnight sun. This vast and remote state, often referred to as the last frontier, is a place where nature's raw beauty and power are on full display. It is a land that calls to the adventurous spirit, promising both challenge and reward. It is a land of extremes where nature reigns supreme and human endeavors are put to the ultimate test. The weather can be harsh and unforgiving, with temperatures plunging well below freezing in the winter and the summer sun never setting in the northernmost parts. The landscape is equally dramatic, with towering mountains, expansive tundras, and deep glacial fjords. From the icy peaks of Denali, the highest mountain in North America, to the sprawling tundra of the Arctic, Alaska's landscapes inspire awe and wonder. The state's natural beauty is unparalleled, drawing visitors from around the world who come to experience its pristine wilderness and abundant wildlife. Whether it's the sight of a grizzly bear fishing for salmon in a rushing river, or the spectacle of the northern lights dancing across the night sky, Alaska offers moments of breathtaking beauty that are etched into memory. But Alaska is more than just a pretty picture. It is a land with a rich and complex history, shaped by waves of human migration, the traditions of its indigenous peoples, and the ambitions of explorers and settlers. The native Alaskan cultures, with their deep connection to the land and sea, have thrived here for thousands of years, developing unique ways of life that are still practiced today. The arrival of Russian explorers in the 18th century marked the beginning of a new era, bringing with it trade, conflict, and cultural exchange. The pursuit of natural resources has been a driving force in Alaska's history. The discovery of gold in the late 19th century sparked a rush of prospectors and fortune seekers, transforming the region and leading to the establishment of new towns and infrastructure. In the 20th century, the discovery of oil brought another wave of economic development, with the construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline and the growth of the energy industry. Alaska's strategic location has also made it a key player in global politics, with military bases and installations playing a crucial role during the Cold War and beyond. This is the story of Alaska's journey, from its ancient roots as a crossroads of cultures, to its emergence as the 49th state of the United States. It is a story of resilience and adaptation, of people finding ways to thrive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. Today, Alaska continues to be a land of opportunity and adventure, where the spirit of exploration and discovery lives on. Whether you are drawn by its natural wonders, its rich history, or its promise of new horizons, Alaska remains a place where the frontier spirit is alive and well. Long before the arrival of Europeans, Alaska was home to a diverse array of indigenous peoples. They came from Asia, crossing the Bering Land Bridge that once connected Siberia to North America. These resourceful people adapted to Alaska's challenging environment, developing sophisticated hunting, fishing, and survival techniques. The Inuit, Aleut, Tlingit, Haida, and Athabascan peoples, among others, established thriving cultures. They created intricate art, developed complex social structures, and maintained a deep spiritual connection to the land. Their legacy lives on in Alaska today, a testament to their resilience and adaptability. In 1741, a Danish explorer named Vitus Bering, sailing for the Russian Empire, made landfall in Alaska. This monumental journey was part of the Great Northern Expedition, a massive exploration effort funded by the Russian Empire to map its eastern territories and expand its influence. This marked the beginning of Russia's long and often brutal reign over what would become known as Russian America. The initial encounters between the Russians and the indigenous peoples were fraught with tension and conflict, as the newcomers sought to impose their will on the land and its inhabitants. Driven by the lucrative fur trade, Russian hunters and traders established settlements along the coast. These settlements were often small and isolated, but they played a crucial role in the expansion of Russian influence in the region. The fur trade, particularly the trade in sea otter pelts, was incredibly profitable and attracted many adventurers and entrepreneurs to the harsh and unforgiving Alaskan wilderness. The fur trade brought immense wealth to Russia, but it came at a heavy price. The demand for pelts led to the overhunting of many animal species, which had a devastating impact on the local ecosystems. Additionally, the Russian traders often exploited the native populations, forcing them to hunt for furs under harsh and dangerous conditions. Native populations were decimated by disease and exploitation. The arrival of the Russians brought with it a host of new diseases, such as smallpox, to which the indigenous peoples had no immunity. These diseases spread rapidly through the native communities, causing widespread death and suffering. The exploitation of the native populations further exacerbated their plight, as they were often forced into labor and subjected to harsh treatment by the Russian settlers. The Russian-American Company, chartered by the Tsar, held a monopoly over trade and governed the territory with an iron fist. This company was responsible for the administration of Russian America and had the authority to establish settlements, collect taxes, and regulate trade. The company's officials were often ruthless in their pursuit of profit, and their actions had a profound impact on the lives of both the native populations and the Russian settlers. However, by the mid-19th century, the fur trade was in decline. The once abundant populations of fur-bearing animals had been severely depleted by overhunting, and the profitability of the trade began to wane. This decline in the fur trade had significant economic repercussions for the Russian settlements in Alaska, as many of them had been established primarily to support this industry. Overhunting had depleted valuable animal populations, and Russia's interest in Alaska began to wane. The costs of maintaining the distant and sparsely populated territory began to outweigh the benefits, and the Russian government started to consider selling Alaska. This culminated in the sale of Alaska to the United States in 1867, marking the end of Russian America and the beginning of a new chapter in the history of this vast and rugged land. Section 4. Seward's Gamble, a Bargain or a Burden. In the aftermath of the Crimean War, Russia found itself facing financial difficulties. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State William Seward, a staunch expansionist, saw an opportunity to acquire Alaska. He believed that the territory held strategic value and could serve as a gateway to the Pacific. In 1867, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, a mere 2 cents per acre. The deal was met with widespread ridicule. Critics derided it as Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox. Little did they know that Alaska held vast reserves of gold, oil, and other natural resources. Section 5. Gold Rush, Transforming a Frozen Wilderness. The discovery of gold in the Klondike region of Canada's Yukon Territory in 1896 sparked a frenzy of excitement that reverberated throughout the world. Thousands of prospectors, driven by dreams of striking it rich, flocked to the goldfields. Many of them passed through Alaska, which became a vital supply hub for the Klondike Gold Rush. The gold rush transformed Alaska's economy and demographics. Towns like Skagway and Nome sprang up almost overnight, teeming with saloons, gambling dens, and hopeful prospectors. The influx of people led to the development of infrastructure, including railroads and telegraph lines. While the gold rush was short-lived, it left an enduring mark on Alaska's identity. Section 6. From Territory to Strategic Outpost Alaska in the World Wars. Alaska, often known for its breathtaking landscapes and harsh climates, played a pivotal role during the World Wars, transforming from a remote territory to a strategic military outpost. In 1912, Alaska officially became a U.S. territory. This marked a significant milestone in its history, as it transitioned from a largely ignored region to one under the direct governance of the United States. The early 20th century saw small towns and communities beginning to form, but the population remained sparse. However, it remained sparsely populated and largely undeveloped. The vast wilderness and challenging terrain made large-scale development difficult. The few inhabitants were primarily involved in fishing, hunting, and small-scale mining. The isolation of Alaska meant that it was often overlooked in national affairs. World War II dramatically highlighted Alaska's strategic importance. As global conflict erupted, the U.S. military recognized the potential threat posed by Alaska's proximity to Asia and the Soviet Union. The territory's location made it a critical point for defense and military operations in the Pacific Theater. Its proximity to Asia made it a key battleground in the Pacific Theater. The Japanese military, recognizing this strategic value, set their sights on Alaska as a potential foothold for further incursions into North America. The remote Aleutian Islands, stretching towards Asia, became a focal point of military interest. Japanese forces invaded and occupied the Aleutian Islands of Attu and Kiska in 1942. This invasion marked the first time since the War of 1812 that American soil was occupied by a foreign power. The harsh conditions of the Aleutian Islands, with their rugged terrain and severe weather, made the conflict particularly grueling. The U.S. military responded swiftly, launching a costly and bloody campaign to retake the islands. The The Battle of Attu, in particular, was one of the most intense and brutal confrontations in the Pacific theater. American forces faced not only the Japanese soldiers, but also the unforgiving Alaskan environment. The Aleutian Islands campaign marked the only time during World War II that U.S. soil was occupied by a foreign power. The campaign was a significant chapter in the history of the war, demonstrating the strategic importance of Alaska and the lengths to which the U.S. would go to defend its territory. The war led to a massive military buildup in Alaska, with the construction of bases, airfields, and the iconic Alaska Highway. This infrastructure development not only served immediate military needs but also laid the foundation for Alaska's future growth and integration into the United States. The Alaska Highway in particular became a vital supply route, connecting the territory to the rest of the country and facilitating the movement of troops and materials. Post-war, Alaska continued to grow and develop, eventually achieving statehood in 1959. The experiences and infrastructure from the World Wars played a crucial role in shaping modern Alaska, transforming it from a remote outpost to a vibrant and integral part of the United States. The legacy of the World Wars is still evident in Alaska's military bases, highways, and the resilient spirit of its people.